Yay! Alright, welcome back to the podcast, Comedy or Worse. I'm here with a very special guest.
Kenny Weber.
Yes! I'm so good when I just point at someone that doesn't know anything and they know to say their name, because I know who Kenny Weber is, but I am always anxious that I will mispronounce their name right in front of them live on the podcast. So thank you so much for doing the podcast, especially on such short notice that you've never heard of the podcast.
No problem.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Well, of course. This is what the podcast is about. Interviewing comics about comedy and life and encouraging the audience to see live comedy.
Right.
We're live in the Brick Room right now. It is December 20th, 2023. And Kenny is going to perform. He is the headliner at the Madhouse Comedy Club.
Yeah, Wednesday night headliner. No, they're good. I don't mean that. That's good.
Yeah. It's a Wednesday if you didn't want to look it up.
It's the Wednesday before Christmas.
Yes. Let's see. So, is that your? Do you use a stage name, or is that your name?
Technically, I use a stage name, but it's also like my last name is also tattooed on my back. It just has to do with I was adopted a couple different times, and the second time was when I was like 19 by my dad that raised me. So my last name should be Weber, but it's actually like legally it's Logan, and it's just like so when I started doing comedy, I would rather go by Weber.
Okay.
So technically a stage name, but not really.
Well, that's a really cool story. Nice. So how long ago did you start comedy?
7 years ago. Actually, the first 2 open mics I ever did were here in San Diego.
Oh yeah.
I did the old Comedy Palace.
Sup? Oh, you're doing this?
This is Comedy or Worse,
Kenny.
and
It's so nice. Way too
so
nice.
what, are you doing this live on the podcast? Encouraging them not to be on
No,
the
no,
podcast.
I want you to do a podcast. I just want to say hi to Kenny.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, I'm just mad that I haven't been put on yet. I live here. I literally fucking live here, dude.
Well, I think it's all about timing.
Fuck you. I don't like how that made me laugh too loud.
Hell yeah.
That's an interesting reaction. A comic saying "fuck you" for making them laugh. Okay.
Because he didn't want you to get him, because you got him, and he didn't want to be got.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we're human, right? We're all social animals. And
We are.
Yes. So let's see.
You were just about to ask me something.
Yeah, I was going to ask you one of the questions, and I should have got my questions prepared ahead of time because now it's not loading. What I usually use is a Wi-Fi hotspot on my phone, but I
Right.
already pushed record.
Right.
So
That's a tough.
it's a great phone. It's but I don't. If I go off of the camera app to
Right.
go to the Wi-Fi app to wake it up, hey, be a hotspot again.
Right.
It's gonna stop recording, and that's just awkward.
Of course. Yeah.
That is.
Can you have? Because you can't even make it be a hotspot while you're recording. Okay?
Well, in theory, it's supposed to be a hotspot. Well, you know what? To be fair, I haven't went on my iPad and see if the back of the house Wi-Fi is active. So maybe that's going to be the problem solved, and then it will be able to actually open the document.
It might. It looks like it's
It
loading
might
right
work.
now. It may be loading.
Talk through the problem.
It may be loading right now.
Yeah, but I've been doing these episodes enough, and some of them back to back and banking them,
Right.
so that I probably will remember the questions I want to ask. And it's also not absolutely strict,
Right.
just kind of try to be
Of course.
conversational.
But no, I was saying too that the first open mics I ever did were down here in San Diego at the Comedy Palace.
Oh, okay.
And so it was in 2016, around this time, around November.
Yeah.
I went over. I was working down here. I still lived in Huntington Beach, but I was working down here for extended period of time, and I like was listening to like so much Rogan, I was like, I want to try comedy.
Oh, nice.
And I did it a couple times, and then I was like, oh yeah, I really want to try to do it for real. And then I waited till I went back home from work, like into Huntington Beach, which was like March of 2017, and then that's when I started hitting it like hard.
Oh yeah. So, have you taken any breaks, or pretty much?
No. But yeah, I went straight. The only break would have literally been, I did it, like I said, I did it twice at the Comedy Palace, like 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, when I go home, that's what I'm gonna do this. And so I waited to those 4 months or whatever, 5 months.
Oh, okay.
And then we've been going ever since.
Hell yeah. So what are some spots in Huntington Beach area? Is there any of them that are still going?
Well, I run the club that's out there, the Rec Room.
Oh, that's
so
right.
I run that club, and then there's always stuff popping up around Orange County, but it's it's like a lot of open mics, a lot of like bar shows and stuff like that. And you know how that goes. It's they're happening for a couple months and then not happening. Or some of them run for a year and then they a lot. It's almost inevitable. It's open mics and comedy shows can be good for bars and certain venues, but usually the comics wear out their welcome.
Yeah, when it's a mixed mic, that too, like a mixed mic.
Yeah, so musicians hate the comics at the mixed mic, and
oh my god.
and then the patrons, the patrons usually hate the comics at a regular open mic. It's almost like you need to find. I always say you need to find a place that doesn't have, that's like struggling on a certain night, and then they put the open mic there. The comics come in and buy something, a lot, like usually if you don't enforce like a 1 item minimum, most of the time, at least, half the comics will buy something, but you'll get some money spent by the comics. And then maybe certain places, can build a little audience and whatnot, but more importantly, it just needs to be a night where you're not gonna be able to like drive business away.
Yeah, absolutely. That totally makes sense. Like the place, Quantum Brewing, running an open mic / show there every Friday.
Right.
And the guy talking to the owner, about it not that long ago, and he's like, business has been down since lockdown,
Yeah.
so that when he came back from lockdown, the business was slow, and he's like, if it was busy like it was, he would have never had comedy there.
Of course. yeah, because they're not gonna fuck up their money, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
With unexpected comedy.
Yeah, definitely. So what is your writing process for comedy?
Usually I just have a long note on my phone that a Google Doc.
Yeah.
That's just long, if I printed it out, it's probably like 300 or 400 pages at this point, and I just write, anything that I think might be funny, I write in there. But it's never like long form, it's just like a few sentences or a phrase or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I usually, I'll have some basic idea around that, and I'll go on stage, and the first time, that's why I still do open mics, and I use them specifically for new ideas. Like I don't usually say anything at an open mic more than like 10 times. Like I might do like 10 open mics with the same joke or something, and then by then it's either I abandon it because it's not really working, and I'll revisit it later, or I start doing it like on shows. And so the open mic, I think that's like a big pitfall, for newer comics, is the open mics, because they're not getting as many shows. A lot of times they're putting a lot of pressure on the open mics and doing well and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's hard to just always be doing new stuff, because you got, once you know something works, there's really no reason to do it at an open mic unless you go in and it's like packed and you're like, okay, well I need to I want to make sure that people see some good comedy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, or it's been a while since you did it and you want to make sure you still have that joke.
Yeah, it's like revisiting stuff or not having done it, or reworking it or whatnot. But there's then from being on stage and performing the joke over and over, usually I'll figure out more tags, more parts to the joke, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I write a lot on by performing on stage.
Okay, but then do you ever go back and write down this stuff?
No.
You just keep it in your head.
Yeah, just at that point, I just keep like I have like a list, like a what is it, like one of those lists where you like I'll have like a main bullet point and then sub bullet points.
Right.
So it'll be like the main bullet point will be the joke, and then if there's like, you know how a joke, a joke can be, certain jokes can be 1 minute long, and then you can have enough tags and enough things that you talk about, or it fits inside of another joke to where it's like 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
And so I'll say that have the main joke, and then any like sub tags, just like, and it's just, that list is just so I don't forget. Just so I don't forget jokes. You know what I mean? In fact, I need to go through and like update that list with, with stuff, because it's like I will just forget shit.
Yeah, good one.
Because I don't write like anything really long form or anything like that.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. Do you wish that you had started comedy earlier?
From just this, from one standpoint, I do, and then one standpoint, I don't. I honestly, for success-wise, honestly, I think it would have been probably worse if I started earlier, because I would have probably like ruined. I would have just, like most 20-year-olds, early 20-year-olds, I was dumb, and so I would have probably like ruined relationships and chances and things like that. So I probably wouldn't be doing comedy now, I think, if I started early. I think that's like there's a ton of comics like that like start in their early 20s, and then they kind of just like, the opposite thing looks way more appealing and honestly feels more appealing. They get to, when they've been doing it for 5 or 6 years, and they're in their early 20s, now they're in their late 20s, they get a job opportunity, something to actually make some money rather than be like a struggling like comic. Right. If they're not like getting something, like getting to open for somebody, getting to like even going up to like the Comedy Store in Hollywood and like getting some type of traction, like if they're not getting any traction by that point, the other side, all it takes is one good job or one good girlfriend or boyfriend that wants you to stay in, and then you end up like not sticking with comedy.
Yeah.
Especially if you're somebody, like I said, who like would ruin relationships and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So from the sense of just like, if I was gonna do comedy this whole time and it was gonna pan out, of course, I wish I started when I was 30 years old, so it's like, it would have been nice to start. I have like every year on Facebook, there's a memory that comes up, and it's from like 2009. And I say like, hey, I think I'm gonna go to do an open mic and try stand-up comedy. Does anybody want to go with me? Right. And then nobody like commented on it, nobody said anything like at all, and I just never went. And that memory like pops up. That was 2009, and then I didn't do my first open mic until 2016. Right.
Yeah, I have something similar. It's in 2012.
Yeah.
I was like saying I wanted to do it, and then I didn't do it until a few years later.
Yeah, and so when I was saying that, I was 23, and I don't know if I would have, like I don't know, the way I got into to actually doing it was from listening to podcasts, from like listening to Rogan.
Yeah.
Rogan, this was like 2015, and it was Rogan, like I started listening to Rogan, and within like 5 episodes of me listening to him, and like I would go back and listen to old episodes, but then I was always listening to the new one, and the new one was right after the fighter Ronda Rousey. She got like knocked out in Australia for like the first time she lost.
Wow. And
Rogan had been out there with Tony Hinchcliffe, and they came back on the plane and they did a podcast by just setting a phone on like their table. Nice. And they just did a podcast like that, and he released it. And so he was talking to Tony Hinchcliffe, and I was like, who's this like gay comic guy that he's talking to, because obviously people know how Tony's voice sounds, which is just funny in retrospect. He's not gay at all.
Yeah, it's like a running joke.
Right, but I was like, who's this gay guy that he's talking to? And then he was talking about Kill Tony, and then I was like, I gotta fucking check that out, like, because they're talking about how it's like new comics and all this shit. And I remember for sure, and I was already, because I had been listening to, like I said, I'd listened to 5 to 10 episodes of Rogan, and I was just like, it's so cool that this guy's a comedian, and he just gets to like talk to other comedians, and then you know I'm dying laughing at like their conversations. And I'm like, you just get to have like funny conversations with your friends, and like that's entertainment for people, and you're like he's you know that's how he's making his living. I'm like, that's pretty cool. That'd be cool if I could do that. And so I was like thinking like it was just one thing like where I was like I should have tried comedy back in 2009 when I said I was going to. I should have tried. That'd be so cool. And then from hearing Tony Hinchcliffe and hearing about Kill Tony, I was like, let me check this out. You know what I mean? This is I had just found podcasts like as like a form of entertainment at all. And so I checked out Kill Tony, and like the first comic that went up, like the very first comic, when I heard their 1 minute, I was like, yeah, I can do this. So I was like, oh, I can do it. Like you know, because they weren't like it was a terrible 1 minute set. And everybody was just acting like it was normal. Like they were acting like they weren't like, get the fuck out of here, you fucking suck. Like, you know what I mean? Like how I would imagine that if you did terribly, how it would be. And they were just like, yeah, it's normal, yeah, you just gotta keep doing it and stuff. And then I started listening to a ton of episodes of Kill Tony, and I was like, and they gave, this was back, you know, I was listening, this was 2015, so I was listening to 2015, 2014, 2013, like those episodes. Because I was going back and just listening to this. Anytime, especially if I recognized the name of the guest, I would like listen. And they gave a lot of good advice back then. I feel like the show's like kind of jumped the shark now, and it's like more of like a spectacle and all these things. It's good for them, and good, you know. It's a lucrative show for like Tony and the producers and all that stuff. But it's like I feel like back then you could get like you got a lot more genuine, good advice from comics. You know, from the guests a lot of times. But even then, even like Tony would like it would be. I mean, something as simple as somebody going up on stage, and let's say like right now they're talking about Israel and Palestine, like right, they're talking about that, and then they start talking to them and interviewing them, and it's like, oh, I live with my girlfriend, and she's like fucking 15 years older than me, and she has webbed feet, and it's like, well, why don't you talk about that? Why don't you talk about these? You have like these crazy things, these very funny things in your life that you could like nobody else can do that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But all these people have opinions on Israel and Palestine, and for the most part, we don't care about you know other people's opinions on that. So like you know what I mean? It's like it's not that like you got to be very good to tackle like those subjects or just broad, you know, subjects in general. It's more, it's better if it's like personal.
Really silly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that you can't do it, it's just people are, there's automatically, you start talking about Israel and Palestine, that's just a good example for like current events now. People are automatically going to be kind of taken aback, and your joke automatically has to be better than if you're talking about something like more to yourself and or more, there's something different. And it's kind of, you know, there's always those topics and abortion.
Think of a whole another way to just like. I mean, that's what's so great about like sci-fi and fantasies. You can talk about current events, but you abstract it enough that people don't realize you're talking about totalitarian or dictatorships or whatever. Yeah. Real quick, I was on Kill Tony right before lockdown.
Nice.
And then like listened to it off and on, and started listening to it a little bit more recently, and they do, you know, sometimes do give good advice, or even like when I was on, like, you know, like one of my first jokes is like talk about assholes or whatever, and then I remember Tony's like, oh, you got the asshole material, you know, kind of like dissing it, but then it's like I was really thinking about it. It's like, yeah, like he sees so many comics.
Well, yeah,
you can tell that's, you know, when you're first starting, you're just grabbing onto anything that's fun.
Of course.
And
it's usually not very, like, it's usually not like deep. It's usually not, you know, like a robust, a robust joke. It's usually like something very quick, something very like, you know what I mean? I would say there's a joke that like not obviously every comic has this that's in the same situation, but it's a joke that I thought of before I wrote it down on paper before I ever started doing comedy. Yeah. And it was, you know, I wasn't molested when I was a kid at all. And as a kid, I'm like, that's a good thing. But then now thinking back on it, I'm like, well, what the fuck is wrong with me, right?
Yeah.
That's a joke that I've heard. I've had to have heard over like 30 comics in the past, like,
I feel like
in the
you hear it
past
once a day.
7 years of comedy.
Yeah.
I've had to have 30, maybe 40 new comics try that joke. And I've probably told a dozen of them. I probably went up to them and said, hey dude, that's a joke all new comics try.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's like especially in the beginning, we gravitate towards certain things. When something like everybody fucking 5 to almost 10 years ago at this point, between that period, everybody had a Tinder joke. You know what I mean? Everybody has like an Uber joke when it was a newer thing.
Yeah.
Now, like once things are around for a long time, then people will have them, but they'll be less like something that was a huge thing for comics before. But I think now that we have social media, it's not, and it still is because they still have them as like airplane jokes. Just like because comics are always on airplanes,
right,
and they always want to talk about it. And so that's why I vow to myself to like not have a fucking joke about I mean. Who knows? Maybe I'll tell a story that happened on like an airplane, but just not to have jokes about airplanes, airports that are just like, and what's the deal with the lines? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had a joke about an airplane, but it was wordplay.
Yeah.
And that was it. Yeah, so it's very interesting. Some just get paranoid. It's like, is it really recording? Okay.
Yeah, not for do podcasting.
So yeah, the podcast is free for the audio version.
Nice.
The video version is Patreon exclusive.
Nice.
I have 0 Patreons as of today, but maybe one day, maybe now that I have Kenny Weber on, everybody's gonna be like, wait, what does that guy look like again?
Yeah,
He's so much more funnier.
When you can see me.
You can see him, and then anyway, that was the point. Let's see. So I always ask this question, and there's very few times I know the answer, but I might know the answer this time. When did we meet? First time?
I mean, just a time here. I just know here.
Right.
Whether it was, I mean, I might have seen you at like at some like at American Comedy Company one of the times I came down before I met you or something like that. But yeah, just basically here because this is the place I've been the most in San Diego.
That makes sense. I don't even know why. I think I should take that question out. So obviously you've traveled for comedy because you.
I've traveled a little bit. I just started traveling. Most of my traveling is coming up over the next like 6 months. Next week, next Wednesday I leave. So a week from today, like a week from today, I'll be in Tulsa. I'll be there through New Year's Eve. Then the next month I'm doing Little Rock. Then the following week I'm doing Philly. Then the next month I'm doing Arizona and something else I think. And then the following month after that is Boston and DC. And then and I'll be back in Austin in May.
Oh yeah.
So like by the time we come to like May or June, like I'll have traveled a decent amount for the first time doing comedy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to like book the shows and have that. I'm like I need to see how these shows are, see how these, just see how everything goes. And if you see me, like I've been saying to because a lot of people, you know how comedy is. A lot of people like will see what you're doing, and it's like social media and stuff. So it's like you get like, oh, that person's doing good or this person's doing bad or whatever it is. And a lot of people are like, dude, you're doing so good. And I keep telling everybody the same thing. It's like, well, I can book the shows. Like booking the shows isn't really the hard part. Like you find the venue, you kind of talk them into like, hey, I have a following. I'm co-headlining with Zach Holmes from the last Jackass movie. He has a huge following. We have a following, so we have something to promote. He has credits. You know what I mean? So let's like give us a shot. And we're going to I'm going to places that are like the level, like us going out and co-headlining. That's the level clubs that we're going to. No offense to the clubs, but everybody knows. I run a club. I know the place of the club and
right.
Who you can get and whatnot. So we're going to appropriate places.
Sure.
But it's more about seeing how the response is. And if I've been telling everybody, if you see me posting a lot of dates in 2025, then it's good. But if you don't see me touring at all, like, you know, if you're just here in Southern California and just doing a couple dates in 2025, that means it didn't go well enough to like continue doing it. But that's why I'm always trying to. I'm one of the lucky ones. I got into the clip game early. I have a following, you know, on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and YouTube. To be honest with you, the best place for me for like conversion of like to have like real fans, to have like interaction and like stuff is Facebook.
Really?
Yeah. And so I get like the most like responses and interaction and all that shit there. People like coming to shows and everything like that. And so I'm constantly trying to figure out like what's the direction of like basically how to build that community, like build the people that want to come see you. Because like that's what we like these days, especially like the younger generation. Like they want to be like the people that they fuck with. They want to be like close to them. It doesn't mean that you're actually close to them, but they want it to be more than like a person in like an ivory tower, basically, or a person who's like unattainable to like there's, you don't believe, like I get dudes that message me on like Facebook or Instagram, and anytime like, hey, I'll answer messages and stuff, and it's like, hey, and they're like they're so surprised. I'm like, dude, I'm just a dude that I run all my own shit. I do all my own shit, like, and it's not like I'm getting an influx where it's like it's not even one a day. It's like,
sure.
You know, like let's say at one, if you took all of the messages, it's probably a message every 10 days. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, I'll even forget. I even forget sometimes, and I'll go back and there'll be like the last 3 months of like in my spam folder on Facebook of a bunch of people that reached out. So I'll just hit them all. I just did this yesterday, that's why it's like fresh in my mind. But I'll hit them back up. But more about building. Like the latest thing is like a Discord. That it's like.
So did you make your own Discord?
Yeah, I'm like in the process of like getting it up and running, and everything. Like organizing it and getting it up and running, and then create, because that's the reason is because it's an algorithmless community. So there's no algorithm. It's like going to be if you join the Discord.
Yeah, it's more like a message board back in the day.
Yeah, if you join my Discord, and there's a section for stand-up comedy and show dates. There's a section for jiu-jitsu. There's a section because I just think of like leveraging all of my interests, like things I like the NFL and I like fantasy football. There's a section in there for that. One of the things I need to do is go to like television and film. Like maybe have one that's film, and then have under television like one little channel that's film. But then for television, have like I watch these shows. Like I'm a huge South Park fan. Me and my girlfriend have been watching a lot of 90 Day Fiance and 600 Pound Life. But if you can like go on Facebook and post like, hey, if you like 600 Pound Life, there's a spot for that in my Discord. Can you believe this happened on this episode? Go to the Discord, and it's just creating that community. And the thing is, I don't have to like talk. I need to interact with it. Like part of it's predicated on me interacting with it.
Goes.
But at the same, it goes within the community. Like right now, I haven't done like a hard launch where I'm like just posting about it all the time, telling people to join. I stream video games sometimes. I just kind of started doing that, and I've been posting about that a lot. I've gotten like a small, like I've got like 70 people on Twitch, right? Like follow me from my Facebook and shit.
Oh, nice.
And then some of them hang out in the video, and so they were the ones that were like, you should do a Discord, you know what I mean? And I'd already been kind of thinking about it, like how to do it for comedy, not for gaming, because that's like a big use for it is to use it for gamers.
Right, yeah.
So gaming is just one channel on my Discord, like hey, video games. And so right now the people in there, they're kind of chatting in there, and then I drop in. One of the things I'm good at, and like I like to cook and eat, obviously, and shit. And so like I have a section in there for food, and so I'll go and I'm like, oh, I cooked some steak and eggs this morning, and so I take a picture of that and put it in there. And so it's like I train jiu-jitsu, and so I got like a promotion on my like some stripes on my belt last night.
That's awesome.
I took a picture and posted in there under jiu-jitsu, so there's my interaction, right? But then besides that, the community is interacting with each other. And so the thought behind that is like, number one, it's a cool thing, have a little community, right?
Absolutely.
Have a little community, and then but then the other side of it is those people have a way higher likelihood of buying tickets if I'm going to be near them.
Yeah, sometimes it like also they want to not just see you, but they want to meet other
Exactly.
people in real life.
Exactly.
They've never.
That's one of, and so it's part of the reason like that got me on this is thinking of like it's Taylor Swift. Like that's what Taylor Swift had. Like Taylor Swift has, I don't know the details of that, but I just know kind of what I see peripherally. But something with the bracelets. Well, these people make bracelets and then they give each other bracelets at the concerts and stuff.
Yeah.
And there is some sort of community, and it's like, oh, making that community is good. And that doesn't mean that she's talking to every single person in the community, but she can address the community. She's obviously doing it at the biggest level, at a level where you don't even need or necessarily want a Discord with fucking 1 million people where she's like, you know.
Yeah, she would have to have someone running that for her. And
We have
she
mods
would-
and stuff. That's what people usually do in those. They have like moderators and stuff. But I also, if you're not that, like, I think it's a missed opportunity. Already, I'm seeing it as like a missed opportunity for, you know, I mean, anybody, like fucking, I don't know why Bert Kreischer is popping into my head right now, but somebody like Bert Kreischer should have. He has so many interests and so many things that he does. It's like, because what you want is you want access. That's why email lists are so good still. If you have a good email list, like one that you grew yourself,
Yeah.
then you've put it out there like who should be signing up for it. And if only people that are interested in you sign up, not some bullshit where you like, I bought an email list off of this guy and I put this together, but real people. If you have, if you build community like that you can talk to directly without an algorithm, you know what I mean? Because no matter what, if a comic like Bert Kreischer posts on Facebook, Instagram, anything like that, it's algorithm, right? But if this whole time you're constantly advertising, hey, my Discord, and these true fans are going over to the Discord, and you do things like you can release merch in there before you release it to the public. You can do giveaways. You can just hang out.
That's great. I'm trying to do merch.
Yeah, you can hang out with just hang out in there. He's getting on a plane. He could just fucking talk in the Discord. Getting on this plane right now. You know what I mean? Like you.
Yeah, and there's like so many possibilities. You could do a live podcast where you.
Yeah, Discord actually has like a streaming thing of their own and shit. Now I'm not, like I said, I'm just learning about it. I'm not like I don't know all the ins and outs and all that, but they have their own streaming. I was looking at, you know, I do that comedy competition every single week at the Rec Room. It's called Nice Bits, and
What day of the week is that?
Thursday, every Thursday night. It's called Nice Bits, and I have to like look into how to do all the streaming on Discord, but I've been thinking that I might stream that show. And it's just like the people, because you should make the Discord something where the people who truly are fans get something out of it. And you're not even I'm not trying to get my Discord numbers up, right? Like I'm not like, man, I just need to have 1,000. That's how social media works. If you could have, no matter who's interacting with you, if you could have 250,000 followers, you want that, right? But in like something like a Discord, you're like, no, I want, if it's gonna be 1,000, I'd rather it be 1,000 people in there, so I know I have 1,000 people who are really in it and really engaged, check it, look at it, get the whether they get the notifications or not, that's something that they use, then have like 5,000 people, and you like, man, how many people are really using it, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not like, maybe it's not too big of a deal or anything, but I think it could be like a part of the future, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's a channel that I've been following for a long time called Kind of Funny. Just a coincidence. One of the founders ended up a little bit into the group.
Right.
Started doing comedy, but it wasn't the plan originally. And then the Greg Miller, one of the head guys that founded it, he was a Taylor Swift fan from back when she wasn't big. Right. You know, and it's just kind of interesting, like how I don't remember what else I was I had some better point than just saying that I.
Well, the show's gonna start soon and everything. We should probably get back to.
Oh yeah, like I don't want to take up too much of your time, but let's see. Just how can people find you on the internet?
The best thing to do is go to my website, heykenny.com. I have everything there. As soon as I like roll out the Discord to where I'm advertising and stuff, that'll be under like all my social media on my website. But yeah, you can get everything, podcasts, tickets, where I'm going to be, all that shit. Heykenny, it's kenny.com.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing the
Okay.
podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Alrighty.
Thanks, dude.
Oh no, thank you.
That was fun.